last arrivees and has gotten his food. Now we can start. Please, everybody, join me in thanking Jim Marsh for making this possible. Old people got to eat somewhere. Now I know Cork would have some comedy routine, something to say about working behind a buffet, but it's not coming to me, so I'm not going to go there. Last coherent thing that Cork said to me before he passed was, "When I die and they ask you what happened, I want you to tell them you got tired of my bullshit and you smothered me to death with your big tits." Thank you all again for coming here today to help me celebrate the life of Cork Proctor, my ex-husband, my roommate, my muse, and I guess I have to say my soulmate. So, this is the question I'm pondering now. If I'm Cork's ex-wife, does that now make me an ex-widow? We were together for 38 years, in and out of each other's lives. Actually, 46 years, if you count the 8 years between the time we met and the time he actually called me and asked for a date. To quote a famous musical group, "What a long, strange trip it's been." I met Cork in 1979 at the old Press Club in the Fox Charleston, I think it was called Plaza Mall back in there. And he was roasting Daryl Dreyer, who was the news director at K-News, where I was in radio sales. And True Hawkins was working there too. And then he says to me, "Why don't you come see my show tomorrow night? I'm over at the Royal Inn." And I'm thinking, well, I just might do that. So this was on a Sunday. The next night, Monday night, I go to the Royal Inn. I'm dressed kind of nice to see this cute comedian. And I walk into the lounge, and there's a big closed curtain and an easel with a placard on it that says, "Show dark Monday nights." Now I figure he's cute, and he's funny, and he's probably one of those guys who gets off seeing how many girls he can have waiting for him all over town. I already have 2 boyfriends. I don't need this action. So I go home, I have a drink, I go home, and I forget about it. Fast forward 8 years. I come home, and there's a message on my voice recorder. Remember when we had voice recorders? "Hi, this is CORK Proctor. I'm looking for the Carolyn Hamilton who has the advertising agency. And if you are she," such good grammar, "I want to tell you you've been my fantasy for 10 years. Now, I figured when he called that he was looking for work in commercials. I thought I still had the agency and he's looking for work. But I agreed to meet him, and we had breakfast at the country club. And he said to me, "If you will go out with me, I promise you, you will never be bored." I wanted to kill him on more than one occasion, but I was never bored. Years ago, there was a fundraiser for some music something at the university, and Joe Williams was the entertainer that afternoon, and Cork opened for him. And after the show, this woman comes up to me in the lobby area, and she says, "Are you Cork's wife?" And I said my usual standard line, "I hope you're not going to hold that against me." And she said, "I'm Nancy, and I used to work at the Union Plaza as a cocktail waitress. when he was in the lounge there. And he was so cute and so funny, and we just all loved him, and it's been so much fun watching him over the years. And it was great today to see that he's just as cute and funny as he ever was. And I said, well, Nancy, if you think he's so cute and funny, do you have $2.50? She says, what? I said, if you think he's cute and funny and you have $2.50, I'll sell him to you. And without missing a beat, she said, oh no honey, no thank you. I've been watching him for years, and I can tell he's high maintenance. Now, CORK never actually proposed marriage to me. He just started introducing me around town as his future ex-wife. When we got married, I was 44 and he was 55, and we'd both been married before and had separate households, so we had 2 of everything, 5 toilet brushes. We didn't need wedding presents. So, hey, a fundraiser, Opportunity Village. Let's make our wedding a fundraiser, $40. We have been in and out of each other's lives since then, in this last 3 decades, and we've left each other on more than one occasion, but this time I don't think he's coming back. Okay, bad death joke. When CORK turned 80, I was already living in South America, in Cuenca. I woke up one morning and said, oh, CORK's going to be 80 this year. A big birthday roast, like you see on television. $40 for Opportunity Village. Show producer, missed and get. Yes. South Point Casino, Michael Gone, yes. Opportunity Village, Linda Smith, yes. And we had so much fun that afternoon that I asked CORK to join me in Ecuador. Now, he'd been living with Norm Johnson, rest in peace, and I can tell you that the inside of that apartment looked like it was inhabited by 2 Oscars from The Odd Couple. Sanitary, frankly, but anyway, so CORK came down to Ecuador, and I knew he would love it there, and he really did. Now, a few months ago, he told me he didn't want to live anymore and he wanted euthanasia. Somebody told him about euthanasia, that it was now legal in Ecuador. I don't know who did that. So he wanted to have euthanasia on his 92nd birthday, which would have been July 22nd this year. And I said, I'll do some little research. And oh my God, the paperwork. I said, you would be dead before the paperwork was done. I don't want any part of this euthanasia. Forget it. But being obsessive compulsive, he kept talking about it. Finally, I said, okay, we'll call Dr. Anthony, our GP, and we'll have him come over and tell you what he thinks about it. Okay, so Dr. Anthony comes over, we're sitting at the dining room table having coffee, and CORK tells him that he wants euthanasia. Now, Anthony is a real down-to-earth, no-nonsense doctor. And he stands up at the table, and he gets right in CORK's face, and in perfect English, he says, what the fuck, man, you're only 91. On the day CORK passed away, I went in that afternoon and I laid down next to him on the bed and put my arm over his chest and thought, what is that bump? And then I realized that he had lost so much weight and become so emaciated and skeletal that it was the bottom of his rib cage. So I laid my head on his shoulder and I said, why are you still here? What are you doing here? Go. You don't want to be here. All your comedy friends are waiting for you. Dick Clark, Shecky Green, Phyllis Diller, Peter Anthony, Carmi, I said, they're all waiting for you, so go. Don't stay here on my account. I have a wonderful Ecuadorian family, and I will be fine. So just go. I had 2 young men living with me who helped me with CORK, Jeff and Joseph, and so we went in for the scheduled diaper change, and CORK was not responsive. So I called Dr. Anthony, and he came over and declared that yes, indeed, he had passed. First time ever in my life that CORK actually listened to me and did what I told him to do. Now, arrangements had been made in advance, and Jeff called the funeral people, and they came to take the body away. And then they called the rest of the family, and so now I have a living room full of emotional Ecuadorians. And they leave with the body, and I see Dr. Anthony to the door. He's finished his coffee. I hear these noises in the master bedroom. What? So I go back to the bedroom, and here's Rosita and Jeff and Joseph, and they are stripping the bed. They've pulled all the sheets and covers off the bed, and they're moving the furniture. And I said, what are you doing? And Rosita said, this is tradition, Senora. When someone passes, you immediately change the sheets and blankets and you move the bed. Because he might look back at that cozy bed and change his mind. And then she told me, we need to burn a candle for 7 days so that he can find his way. I said, this is CORK Proctor. We should burn this candle for 14 days because he was easily distracted. So CORK was cremated. Now, some of you may remember a joke he used to do. He said, when I die, I want to be cremated and made into a douche powder so that I can spend eternity in a warm, dark place. And a while back, he had asked me to have him cremated, and he said, I'd like you to scatter my ashes over the Galapagos Islands. I looked at him and said, do we have a budget for this? Do you have any idea how much it would cost to rent a private plane and fly out over the Galapagos Islands, 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador, and scatter ashes? I said, I'm not doing that. I'm taking your ass's ashes down the street to the Tomebamba River. I'm floating them in the river. You can float to the Galapagos. So one day I'm telling this story. We're having lunch with some friends, and one of our friends says, I don't think it would work that way. I don't think the Tomebamba River flows in that direction. I think it flows south into the Amazon. It's a joke. So now I have CORK's ashes in my dining room, and I don't think I'm going to scatter them anywhere because scattering ashes sounds messy. So I'm just going to leave them there in the dining room in their little cedar box with the pretty white satin and lace lining where I can talk to them every day and tell them what to do. Stay right there. Thank you again to Jim Marsh for making this happen today. And this is so much fun to see you all, and I really feel like I've stepped back in time. And it's great, and I think we should do it again tomorrow afternoon at the same time. And to close my part of this little presentation, I would like to leave you with a toast, CORK's favorite toast. May the wind at your back always be your own. If you didn't think it was funny, it was CORK Proctor's line, not mine. So I would like to talk to a few people and learn this from CORK, that you should have this 50-foot long mic cord. So I'm not making it, but we'll go from there. And we'll start with Kelly. because I know you have something to say. And what we'd like to hear is a funny CORK Proctor story or your favorite CORK Proctor joke. Nothing maudlin, like, oh, we're going to miss him and all that, because we can't cry, we can't ruin our makeup.
Well, when he was talking about CORK referring to the Muslim death procedure and everything, and talking about the fact that the big thing was that when you did die, you went to heaven, their version of heaven, and enjoyed the rest of your time up there with 80 virgins or something like that. He said, I don't prefer that. He said, I would rather go to some place where they had just maybe one good
I know I wasn't that hungry.
Okay, Fielding West, CORK's favorite joke. Guy goes into his dentist, he says, hey doc, this tooth is killing me. Dentist says, well, do whatever you've got to do. Dentist turns around with a big needle in his hand, the guy goes, whoa, whoa, what's with the needle? He says, I got to numb that gum so I can take that tooth out. He says, no, absolutely not, I don't do needles. He says, okay. Dentist turns around, has a big rubber mask in his hand, goes to put it over the guy's face, he says, hey, what's this? He said, it's nitric oxide. Some people call this laughing gas. This will relax you so I can pull that tooth. He goes, you know, doc, I did this gas a few years ago and it upset my stomach. I don't do gas. He goes, okay. Now the dentist hands him a little paper cup with 2 blue pills in it. The guy looks down at it, smiles, says, doc, is this what I think it is? Is this a double dose of Viagra? He says, it sure is. He said, I didn't know Viagra could kill pain. He says, oh, it's not for the pain. I just figured you're going to need something to hang on to when I jerk that tooth out of your head. Thank you. By the way, Carolyn, one other thing. When I die, I want you to tell everybody that you smothered me.
I want you to tell about the thing with Carmi when you first...
Samina's in the back corner.
Yes.
She'll love this story.
Yeah,
I first came to Las Vegas. I was in a burlesque show downtown at the Fremont Hotel. I had just met CORK Proctor through Johnny Thompson, the great Tom Sony magician. So they brought a guy with him by the name of Carmi Petrillo because Carmi said they set up a joke. They didn't tell me. They had a joke on me because they knew this is the first time I played in downtown Las Vegas. So I go up to the Fremont. I'm in a burlesque show that Paul Perry put on. And all of a sudden this guy comes back with a suit on. It's Carmi. He goes, you, I don't know you. Go in the room. He comes in the room and he gives me all this mob talk. He's just scaring the hell out of me. He's going, there's 5 rules here. The number 1, you don't go near any of these cocktail waitresses. Number 2, you come in the back door, you go out the back door. Number 3, you never gamble in our place. Number 4, if you want to buy drugs, you get it from that guy over there. And number 5, and I can't even remember number 5 because I'm trembling. So now I go out and I'm doing my bit on stage and Carmi's standing in the back. And every time I'd say something, he'd shake his head like that, and there wasn't any laughs, there was nothing. I went back to my room, I was terrified. So CORK Proctor comes in the room, hey, great show. Johnny Thompson comes in, great show. Oh, we want to introduce you to a friend of ours. And it was Carmi. Carmi comes in and says, kid, you were great. I said, aren't you the... And I said, no, I'm a singer. So that was that. Thank you very much.
I love that story.
Linda, stand up, Linda.
Sorry.
Let everybody see how pretty you still are.
It's not a favorite joke, but it's one of my fun stories about CORK. I'm with Linda Smith, Opportunity Village. And CORK was a regular, both CORK and Carol would come into our thrift store. And I had an office way behind somewhere. This is the old thrift store on Main Street that's since burned down. CORK would come in with his bullhorn and start screaming, Linda Smith, get out here. There's crap on the floor. And then I'd go running out, and he'd say, I crapped my pants, and he'd be just yelling at everybody. So he was always coming in with his bullhorn, bringing donations, telling everybody to come and buy this stuff. I just love him for that. He put our thrift store on the map. He's a great guy, and we miss him, and thank you.
Hi, Charlie Carter. It's not a joke, but I was at the wedding at the Main Street station, and my favorite part was Carolyn was down there waiting and waiting. We're all waiting and thinking, oh my God, CORK's not showing. And he came down out of the ceiling. Like Moulin Rouge kind of. And it was awesome. So that's one of my favorite memories.
But Charlie took my line because his coming down the fireman's pole at the Main Street station after waiting, but the second part of that was when they asked if if you take this woman to be your wife? Do you remember what he said? I think he waited a long time before he responded, but I forget what he said. He was he made that into a joke. He made everything in life into a joke, and he did a good job of it. Thank you.
My dad was Carmi, and I think they call themselves the Mouse Pack, right?
The Mouse Pack.
The Mouse Pack, yeah. And my dad used to have all these theme parties. I think it was like have a Casablanca party and all that, and we had those tables in the house all set up.
A picture of them over there.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I want to see that. And Cork was pontificating and pontificating and pontificating. And we're all like, oh. And then he goes, well, to make a long story short, and I'm like, too late. And he was just looked over and was gonna just really lay it on thick, you know, because he's like that kind of a comic. And he saw who it was, and he had to be very gentle because I'm his friend's daughter. But he was always very sweet. I remember coming home with after my divorce with a new boyfriend. He goes, I hope you're not going to marry this one. And I go, no, I trade him in every 10 years like a used car. But he was like always very fun to have around with my dad and all his friends, and he was always very, very sweet. In his way.
Thank you, Gina.
There was a time that UNLV had a fundraiser for 25 years, something I organized called 76 Trombones. And it was for actually making sure that some of the students had some money to go to school. We ended up with 4, I think, scholarships. Cork, I think, appeared not all 25 times, all 25 years, but at least 15 of them. And he helped make everything go smoothly. So God bless you, Cork. I appreciate the heck out of it.
Okay. Anybody else? Final words. Peggy's got more. We always do.
Oh yeah, I can't stop. Cork Proctor in Cuba. First
yes.
time he ever had a cigar in his mouth, and he had it with a sip of, what was that cordial that we, anyway, Cork Proctor in Cuba was a real blast. It was a lot of fun, and he made a joke of everything.
Oh, well, since you brought up Cuba, I gotta tell this story. Cork and I are living in South America, and we decide that we want to go to Cuba. And so I put together this trip through a friend. I found a guide in Cuba and in Havana to go ahead and do all of this stuff. And there were 10 of us in the end. And most of them were from Ecuador. The only people from the United States, where everyone was afraid of Cuba and flesh-eating bacteria and was Peggy and her friend Candace, whom I had never met. So they arrive, we all meet up at this hotel in Havana, and introductions are made, and Candace says to Cork, well, don't I get a hug? And Cork says, oh, okay. So he gives her a hug. I think 2 days went by, and I don't remember how it came about, but it was a period of time. And do you remember this exactly?
Yeah. Basically, it was breakfast in the morning, and Candace was sitting there, and Cork Proctor's telling a story about this hotel owner and how he dated his daughter.
Oh, that's it, yeah. So Cork is telling a story at breakfast about a hotel owner here and how he dated his daughter. And guess who the daughter is?
Candace.
It's Candace.
Live with her for
He
2
didn't
months.
remember her. And she told me later, she said, you know, I thought he kind of just was being that way and not really recognizing me because you were there, and he didn't want you to know, that we slept together umpteen decades ago. That could only happen to Cork Proctor. Thank you all again for coming. This has been great. We don't have to be out of here by any particular time because it's Nevada and casinos are open 24 hours a day. And, Oh, Dick,
I'll say something too, Carolyn, when you get home.
and somebody else over here.
It's good to see you, Carolyn, and all you folks. I tagged along with Cork somewhere along the way when he thought it was a good idea to become a casino executive. Mr. Gahn said, and he goes, oh, okay, so he put on his suit, and he looked like one. He was dapper and well-spoken, tall and handsome, and there were a few things that didn't go so well with him, which is also one of the reasons he's one of my heroes. I was his Igor for many years, so I got to hear lots of stories, and he would say, you can do that. I go, I don't know how to do that. He goes, you'll be fine. And it was like that for many years, and he made me laugh, and it was so much fun to see him with all of his friends really get into it. It was awesome. But the casino executive thing, one of the qualities that I loved best about him was also not a good quality for a casino executive. He was honest and loyal and true. And the loyal and true, I know you guys all know that. He'll show up for you. He'll take a bullet. He was that guy. So he was the guy in the boardroom that would stand up and he'd say, am I the only one? Are you kidding me? And which I think is why he got hired many times. I'm not going to say fired, but he got hired many times. So he's my hero, and I miss him, and thank you.
I'm glad you made it today, because I know you just drove in from Southern California. Yeah, the corporate life did not suit Cork very well. He talked about Cork dressing up in a suit. That was the first day. After that, it was shorts, sandals, and a Hawaiian shirt. And so he'd come home and he'd say, we had a big meeting today. No, all the suits were there. Nobody took me seriously. They didn't listen to anything I said. I don't understand why. He got so frustrated that we left town and joined the Peace Corps, which is a whole other story for our next visit. Thank you all very much. Thank you. And we can stay as long as we want. There's plenty of food left.